And welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today I am doing something new for me. We're going to make wine soap. I had talked about it in a previous couple of videos where they had like alcohol type themes. I made orange cognac and beer soaps, and so it got me thinking about that, and I got this scent from Wholesale Supplies Plus, Merlot wine. And this smells really good. It's got a depth to it. It smells good, like a really nice glass of red wine. So I will bring you along as I prep my wine to make this soap. So I'm gonna probably simmer the wine to steam off the alcohol in there to hopefully make it a little easier to work with. And my plan is to make a wine lye solution for the entire soap. So for the color swirl, and I'm not sure how much that will discolor all of the soap. This fragrance says it discolors to a yellow, has like a yellow cast to it, so I'll probably use some TD in the uncolored portion. But for my color swirl, I'm going to use Crimson Red Wine Mica from Wholesale Supplies Plus, you know, because it goes perfectly with the theme. So I'll bring you along for the wine prep and let me get everything pulled together, and we will come back and make some wine soap. All right, we're back, and it's time to prep our wine for this soap. And there are several ways to approach alcohol in a soap, and I like to simmer off the alcohol in mine. I know other soapers say you don't have to. You can freeze it, so there's other options out here. But here's how I like to do it, because I am going to use this entire bottle of vino in our soap today. This is a Merlot, very inexpensive. I hopped on down to my local Aldi's and got the cheapest bottle of Merlot I could get, because I'm going to simmer it down and make soap with it. So I'm not worried about, you know, super classy Merlot here. But I actually think these are quite fine. Anyway, I have cooked with this also. I'm going to put it in here and get it up to a low simmer, and then when it's all said and done, I will weigh it and see how much liquid I have left, and I'm sure I'm going to have to top this off with some distilled water when I make my lye solution. But for now, let's get this simmering down. All right, we're back, and here is my wine liquid portion. And so here is the whole bottle that I simmered down, and a whole bottle of wine has about 25.4 ounces of liquid in it. And after I simmered this down, I ended up with about 14 ounces of simmered down wine after I boiled off and steamed off the alcohol. So I went ahead and topped off the extra with distilled water. And so that's what I have going on in here. And I'm not going to add any sugar in here because the wine will have enough natural sugars in it. Here's my sodium hydroxide, and I'm going to show you how I add this in. But first, I want to grab a little pinch of Tussa silk, and I'll show you how I melt my silk in the wine solution. All right, here's my Tussa silk fibers, and the kind I get comes in ropes like this, and I just kind of pull it apart, and I'm going to grab off a pinch, and I literally just eyeball this. I have no measurement for you. This is weightless. I cannot weigh this, but I like to spread it out nice and thin. If you pinch this all up, I don't know, it's tiny when you pinch it up. Maybe the top of a Q-tip, a very small cotton ball size, if I had to describe it. I get asked a lot, how much silk do you add? Just a pinch. That's all I can say, is just a little pinch. And then I like to stretch the fibers. If you don't want to stretch the fibers, you could take a scissors and snip it into little teeny snippets, and that just helps it melt a little bit faster. That's all this is doing. So I kind of stretch it out so it's nice and thin. I'm going to pop it in here. I sink it down with my spatula, and now I'm going to add my my sodium hydroxide crystals. I'm going to add them kind of slow so that I make sure I don't have any overheating issues, just in case there's a little bit of alcohol left in there. I'm not sure if I steamed it all off. I'm pretty sure I did, but I'm not 100%. So just going to add a little, and we'll stir it and kind of let it do its thing. You want to stand back so you don't breathe the fumes. A good ventilated mask is definitely recommended. So just stirring, that feels good. And when I don't feel any more grit, I know it's all dissolved, it's not reacting, I'll go ahead and add some more. So a funny story, when I made the intro for this video, I had forgotten that over a year ago, I did make a wine soap with a Chardonnay. And so that being a light white wine, I wasn't so worried about discoloration, and I guess that's why it didn't register, and I was thinking I hadn't made wine soap before, but I have made wine soap, and that video inspired me. So I am going to make a little extra batter today, and I want to pipe some grapevines on top of this soap if everything's behaving and it's not speeding up too much. One of the things when you're dealing with fruit purees or wines or alcohols is the sugars can, speed things along in your tracing occasionally, and not necessarily. I mean, I've had some, wine soap, or not wine soaps, I've had beer soaps and other things move very slowly. So just proceeding with caution, but if everything's behaving, I definitely want to pipe some grape clusters on the top of this soap just to really represent, that this is a wine themed soap. And I'm very anxious to see if this wine color is gonna cause me some big discoloration or not. It'll be interesting to see because this is a very dark lye solution that I have going on. So I'm just gonna finish adding the sodium hydroxide into the wine here, and that'll be our lye solution. I gotta let it cool down as I get my oils prepped, and then we will be back when it's time to make soap. Oh yes, and I did want to mention that the silk fibers melted about halfway through the lye. I have all the lye in here, and I don't know if you can see the steaming off on the camera here, but I'm gonna take the temperature and show you how hot this gets. Lye water or lye solution is nothing to mess around with. So let me take the temp here. 205 degrees. This is hot. You want to be respectful of this. It's not something to play around with. This is a caustic material. You don't want children around or pets near your work surface area. So, soap making isn't scary, but you do need to have your thinking cap on and be very respectful when you're working with a chemical reaction like this. But all of my silk fibers are completely melted. Got this beautiful dark lye solution going. So now I'm going to let this cool off. All right, it's soap additives time, and I have my wine lye solution off to the side, all cooled off. So to the oils here, I'm just going to add my kaolin clay and my colloidal oats because I love it. So this is a 2 tablespoon scoop. My rule of thumb is for dry additives, 1 teaspoon per pound of oils or thereabouts, and it's kind of loosey-goosey. So if you go a little over, a little under, it's all good. I'd go a little shy on mine. So this is a 2 tablespoon scoop. That's how I do it. But yeah, so dry additive ingredients are not that specific. It's just you'll find the level that you like in your soap. And this is, my foolproof 2 tablespoon scoop works for me. So that's what's going in. I got to get this all blended up. I do have the fragrances already in here. I have my piping bags and tips off to the side to do little grapevines and clusters on the top, just to kind of make this beautiful and represent that Merlot wine that's going on in there. So let me get this blended and we will come back when we're all ready to get moving forward. We are back, and here is my beautiful Merlot wine lye solution, and that's all set and ready to go. And I wanted to say I am using pine mica from Be Scented to do my vines and leaves that's going to go on the piping. So I'm not going to swirl this in the body, it's just going to be for the top. So just a little bit I'm going to pour off for that. So now this is going to be interesting to see. I don't think red wine discolors the finished soap too much, maybe a beige color, but we will see. Look how gorgeous and dark that is. It's beautiful, and this fragrance smells so nice. I think it's a very, mature, lovely scent. All right, check that out. Wow. I am going to add just a touch of titanium dioxide to the uncolored portion because I really want this beautiful mica to show up in there. So let's pour off and get to getting this swirled up. the next day, and look how pretty that came out. I'm so happy. I didn't steam the top. It didn't have any soda ash. This was covered and put a blanket over it. It did go through gel phase, and I'm just so tickled. I think it just looks really earthy and vineyard-like. I love it. And the wine didn't speed up trace, so we'll talk more about that as we get to cutting. But right now, I've got to get it out of the mold so we can see how those swirls came out. With Olga, and it's time to cut into our vino-inspired Merlot wine soap. I was trying to decide what to name this soap. I think I'm just going to call it Merlot wine because I kind of ran out of inspiration. I'm not sure if I should call it, grapevine, or anyway, I think I'm going to go with Merlot wine because that kind of sums it all up. So let's get in here and see how that hanger swirl came out, and then we'll talk about working with a whole bottle of wine in your soap. Oh my goodness, we're going to get some fun swirls here. Oh, pretty, pretty. I am so tickled. I love it. And the top, so let's start with, this went through gel phase. So yes, I put a blanket over the mold, and even with all the wine and the natural sugars, went through gel phase. I didn't have any overheating. So there's that. It did not speed up trace. So I was very happy about that. The fragrance behaved beautifully, and the wine did not affect the trace on this. I'm seeing a little rim, but it's very interesting. It's going, I'm wondering if these are going to discolor or if that's just what that is. It's weird because it's in. Isn't that rim interesting? Huh. We will see. We're going to have to follow that and see what happens with the discoloration. Anyway, let me get back to working with wine. So, like I did, I simmered off the alcohol. There are some people that say you don't need to do that, and you don't need to do that. You can add the alcohol after trace. There's so many different ways to do it, but this is just how I like to do it. When I do my beer soaps and my wine soaps, I want a lot of that in there. So like when I do a beer soap, I use 2 beers and boil them down, and the wine, I used a whole bottle in this batch. I just think it adds a beautiful label appeal, and I really have had fun working with beers and wines to make soap. It makes a great lather. I will say that. I'm expecting these to lather like a dream. And I think we're going to have some soapy patterns. Let's do a little preview here and see what we got. Oh yeah, we're going to have some fun patterns. I'll do it at the end for you. All right, next loaf. And I did add a little titanium dioxide to the unmica'd portion here. And it's this beautiful sort of butterscotch beige. I think it looks really nice. I'm hoping it doesn't discolor too much darker. I don't think it will. Because I think this outside color, if it stays in this range, is quite lovely. I'm loving that. All right, so let's talk about the piping on here. So with the wine and the fragrance behaving, I didn't have to wait too long for the frosting to come up to a good piping consistency. It gave me enough time. I turned around and did my dishes, and then by the time I got done with my dishes and came back, it was thick enough to pipe onto the soap. So I love it when that happens. I've had a few times where I have such a slow-moving fragrance. I mean, I've had to walk away from my piping bags for over an hour sometimes waiting for it to thicken up. This was not the case. It was maybe 10 minutes and it was ready to go. So I like that. I don't like it to go too fast, but too slow is kind of a bugger also. It's a balance. Anyway, this was perfect, and I really like the little grape clusters on top. I think they represent, and each bar is a little bit different. Like this one is leaf heavy, which I think is really fun. All right, last loaf. So look at the outside color here, and then the inside color. is more butterscotchy. So if it changes color much beyond this, I will take pictures for you all and put it at the end of the video if I get any major discoloration. I'm not expecting to, but if for chance there is, I will post pictures at the very end of the final bar color if it changes a lot. These were fun to make. I love it. Do you have any other suggestions for wine soap or alcohol soaps? I've done beer, I've done wine. I made an orange cognac. I have not used like a brandy or a bourbon in a soap. Maybe I should do that next. Now it's got me thinking. Anyway, this was fun, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please hit that button so you don't miss anything going on in the soap studio. Have yourself a glass of wine if you enjoy wine. If you're not a wine drinker, have some sparkling water. Take a little bit of time to enjoy your day. And I hope you do have a wonderful day.